Yeah, and that's just confirmed ones. Hello, my name is Isaac, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel's purpose is for me to share with you some things I'm interested in, and maybe get you interested in the same process. I do think first, however, I should probably tell you a bit more about myself. I am a Year 8 student attending a school in southwest Sydney. I have one older brother and one older sister who both go to university. Amongst a variety of other things, I enjoy learning about new things, discovering old things, and discussing what I've learned with others. Now, today, we are going to kick off this episode by talking about 3 types of swords, and the difference in their form in function. These 3 types are the great sword, long sword, and short sword. To begin with, let's discuss the short sword, as it was the first of the 3 to be used in warfare. The short sword, or arming sword, depending on when and where you're talking about, is a one-handed, double-edged sword. It was used throughout history, from before ancient Greece to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. It was used as a sidearm to the spear by the Spartan phalanx for times in which the enemy were too close for the spear to be a viable weapon. This changed heavily during the Roman Empire, during which the gladius, a Roman short sword, became the primary weapon of choice for the foot soldiers of each legion, excluding the mercenaries and other groups of locally raised forces. After the Roman Empire's downfall, however, these weapons declined in usage until the latter part of the Middle Ages, as kingdoms began standardizing their full-time armies. It was used with shields as an short sword, as an effective close-quarters weapon for one hand. However, after the development of gunpowder weapons and the creation of cavalry swords and bayonets, the short sword was slowly phased out of use until it became nothing more than an antique, be carefully looked after and admired, but not much else. As metalworking advanced within the Middle Ages, weaponsmiths were able to create larger pieces of steel, enabling the inception of the longsword. The longsword is a two-handed, double-edged sword, with most versions of it being much longer than previous blades at the time, usually averaging between 90 and 110 centimeters for the length of the blade. It is difficult to generalize this type of sword due to the great disparity between each iteration. However, there are some things that can be said for the majority of them. Most would have a crossguard perpendicular to the rest of the sword, and a large group of them would have a fuller, or small divot running down the middle of the blade. They would have a hilt around 20 centimeters long in most cases, and a commonly spherical pommel at the end of the hilt to prevent the hand slipping off the sword. Short sword! The longsword was a stepping stone on from short swords like the gladius to great swords like the claymore and Zweihander. It was used predominantly by knights throughout Europe up until they were outpaced by later weapons, of which became the primary weapon of choice for close-quarters combat. Due to the previous advances in weaponsmithing, some smithies began experimenting to see just how far they could go with a sword. The result of this was the greatsword, the largest type of sword, used by themselves due to the sheer bulk of the weapon. There are a few things we can generalize about the greatsword, even though there is a multitude of weapons of which can be put into this classification. They are two-handed double-edged swords and always larger than the longsword. They are almost never used with another weapon, due to the sheer size of the sword. This size also can commonly lead it to be quite the unwieldy weapon. An example of the great sword is the Zweihander, or Beidenhander, meaning two-handed or both handed, respectively, in German. It was an extremely large sword of the time, sometimes being over 2 meters in length, had a two-part hilt consisting of the larger bottom part for both hands and the higher, smaller part for a single hand. This allowed for greater leverage during swings, of which is very beneficial given the enormity of the weapon. It was used by German shock troops known as Landschnitt. They were very effective against pike formations, with some rumors that Zweihanders could cut off pike heads during battle. Thus, our comparison of these weapons comes to an end. If I had to choose but one of these If I had to choose but one of these fine weapons, then the longsword would be my first choice, given its versatility and variety in design. However, I cannot ramble on forever, as there's still a few more things I need to tell you today. I pondered a great many things today, however, one thing in particular took to the fore of my mind. Whether or not swords and their blades were ever made of human bone at all. And several ideas came to mind. I do think that while the hilt of a sword would be fine to be made from bone, the blade of a sword being made out of it would be quite impractical, given that they don't have much flex, which is fine when they are within a body, but a sword that is not indestructible requires at least a modicum of flexibility to not break upon contact with any object they cannot cut through. They're also quite brittle, making it a bad material in general to make a weapon, as you don't exactly want to have your sword shatter into 100 pieces upon contact with another blade. This is, however, just something I've thought about recently, and I'm simply speculating that. So, that is all I want to share with you today. I do greatly appreciate you watching this video of mine, and hope that you might come back for the next one for more interesting facts and thoughts. Hippity hoppity, this video is my property. Greetings and salutations, fellow viewers. In these uncertain times, I do hope that this video finds you well and that you are staying safe, being kind to others, and being awesome. I do hope that my videos can open up new areas of conversation between you and your peers. Perhaps you can also explore the world from your home just as I do. Together, our minds can forge a world abounding with possibility. Literally.